Yeah, we're recording, man. What's got you pissed off?
Right. So for me, it's just like there's a lot of stuff it's been going on for, I would say, at least a couple of years that I've been aware of, yeah. But it's a little bit of a touchy one, but I think that it's kind of overhyped to a point where people don't actually know the facts. I feel like when you come to tell people certain facts and stuff, when you come to tell them certain things, they believe the information that you're giving them before actually looking into things.
Okay.
And I think that can be quite damaging with certain information that you give.
Okay.
So in this situation, yeah, like I've always been hearing that like black women are not attractive to black men. Yeah.
In what way?
So like black men would rather be with a white or a mixed or an Asian woman even than a black woman.
Because of physicality or because of personality?
Well, this is the thing.
Okay. So is it preference looks wise you're saying, or
I don't know. This is the thing.
What is being said?
So a lot of I haven't heard a lot about the physicality side of things, but then there has been some things that I have heard before. But in regards to the strongest thing, I would say personality. Maybe, you know, kind of being just a black woman having a strong personality in general, being quite, you know, aggressive isn't the word. Maybe
is the stereotype of being combative.
Yeah.
Is it that angry black woman stereotype kind of
thing? But I wouldn't even, I would say combative, yeah. But I think sometimes I would say that they may be a little bit more headstrong with certain thoughts, maybe approaching situations, maybe a little bit more confident in kind of sharing certain thoughts and feelings towards people, and being more confident in maybe situations where there may be a little bit of friction. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, like an argument, or like I feel like people say like a black woman is a lot more like confident in having an argument, and they almost kind of say like white girls are like, oh, like they don't want to, they feel uncomfortable with confrontation.
You can walk over them a little
bit. Yeah.
Okay, but hear this. What country is this in? Where's this narrative coming from?
Well, this narrative has been
this narrative ain't coming from Kenya or Zambia or South Africa.
It's not.
Where black women are still very much not considered angry and not considered combative and are still considered very feminine and still considered very wifely.
I agree.
So what country is this? Is this America? Is this
I would say it's American English westernized society thing. That's what I would say.
Which is only two countries.
Pretty much.
Which is UK and America.
Yeah. I don't even think it really goes any further than that. Yeah, and that's the maddest thing. But then I feel like just with the westernized society, I feel like the world revolves around America and the UK. And I think that's actually in itself damaging.
But even in the West includes the Caribbean as well. But Are Caribbean women considered that? Are women in Barbados and the Bahamas considered combative?
And also though, just to break things down, what is wrong with a woman asking and knowing what she wants?
Nothing.
And being confident about it. Nothing. And saying when she feels offended by things.
I think it's more to do with how, and this is not about black women, this is about anything. It's about wanting something is one thing.
Yeah.
How you put it across in your manner and your tone is.
I agree.
It's like men can be honest, and that's something I've had to work with. I'm honest.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to work on my tone in how I say that.
I agree with you, but as a black guy, it's the same thing, bro. Like, I could say the same thing, the same tone, with the same energy as a white guy, that maybe, I don't know, let's say I have a tracksuit on, and he has a shirt and trousers on. We could say the same thing, same tone, same energy, and it would come across different.
But that's not just a black thing.
What do you mean?
That's not just because you're black. That's because you're just not white.
I hear that, but I feel that there is sometimes a lot of people do see like a black person being naturally more aggressive than a white person or an Asian person.
So that's a challenge that a black person would have, but other people would have just as big of a challenge, but in a different thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're Romanian, Albania will be thought of as vermin in our country.
I agree. I hear that.
So
I hear that.
It's a different thing, but just as much.
If you're Asian, people think that you're a terrorist or something, and you're dodgy, and I get it. Yeah, I get it.
The reason I thought that the other day, right? This is a little bit off topic, but it all kind of ties in. We'll get back to like black women. But it's like two Pakistani boys. This all happened in our country this year. A couple of Pakistani boys kick off with some police in an airport in Manchester. They hit a female police officer. Whether police officers are female or not, if you're just police, do you know what I mean? But they differentiated, right? They got in a fight. They hit a woman police officer. They get put on their front, get tasered, get handcuffed, whatever, and a policeman stamping on his head.
Yeah.
Right? They shouldn't be hitting police officers. Go back to where you come from. They get treated differently. Muslims get treated better than other people. They didn't look like they were getting treated that well.
I hear that.
Had his face on the floor getting stamped in the head. Same time, this all happened within a few weeks of each other. A bunch of Romanians in Leeds, I think Romanian gypsies in Leeds, were frustrated with the way they were being treated by the UK government, and they rioted. You know when they were turning over cars in Leeds and stuff with the police? They got called vermin and pests. They're turning our streets into war zones. They should go home. The Pakistani boys were frustrated with the way the government, by way of the police, were treating them in a situation. They got called. They're getting special treatment. They should go home. A bunch of white guys from England got frustrated with what the government's doing. They go and set fire to mosques or whatever they did, try and set fire to hotels. The same guys that are saying those two Muslim boys deserve to get beaten up because they hit a woman are the same ones trying to burn hotels with women and children in them. But they're just really frustrated, angry young men, and you can understand their frustration because you feel they're losing their country. So what I've realised about this country is if you are a person of any colour that is not white, you are not allowed to say or express any kind of concern or disappointment about your country, because this is my country as well. We're not allowed to say anything, because the second we say something, well then get out of the country then. Go back to where you come from. If you're a person of colour, you are not allowed to say anything bad about this country. If you're a white person, you can say, fucking country's going to the dogs, mate. Fucking this, fucking that. And you can go and burn down a Primark or a Shoe Zone or a fucking whatever you're doing, and you're just a very frustrated... The amount of people that I live in the north of England, the amount of well-to-do white people that have come to me and go, you kind of understand their frustration though, can't you? Like, I don't agree with the whole thing. But you can, and these are working men, good family men, like working class family men. But they're like, you can kind of understand the frustration a little bit. Like we got people coming in, and we got homelessness, but they're giving hotels to. I said, you know what the funny thing is? I said, I said to one of the guys, I was like, I generate more taxes in this country than 90% of the people. Yeah. Right. I create more jobs in the last decade. I've created probably over 100 jobs for people. Many of them are white English, right? I pay more taxes than a lot of people, like generate more taxes, And I am just as frustrated as people coming into this country and getting put up in hotels while we have homeless and that. I said, you know the difference with me though? I don't go and set fire to a mosque.
Yeah, well, you couldn't anyway, because it would be a different...
But I don't set fire to Primarks.
Yeah.
But I don't express my concern by telling people to get out.
But I feel like you don't, and other races don't, or people from different countries don't, because they know that the repercussions will be different.
No, but even repercussions...
And the understanding of why they did it would not be accepted.
So let me rephrase that. I don't feel like...
So it's almost enablement, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I don't even feel like wanting to do it. Even if I
was I agree. Yeah, I know that.
My thing is not to go and say, well, let me go and set fire to this fucking hotel and these people are vermin and pests. Yeah. That's what I don't do. I don't set fire to...
But this is what I'm saying though. I'm highlighting that it's enablement. Yeah. They're being enabled and allowed to think and blame people for jobs and all sorts of crap, even though it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how these people's lives are going to be better if those people are not there. I don't know a single person. Do you know anyone? I challenge anyone on here to tell me, do you personally know someone personally know someone who had a job and lost it to an immigrant.
No.
Not that they're taking our jobs, and I know someone, and my mate said he lost it. Do you personally know someone who had a job and lost it, and they fired them and hired immigrants? Because let me tell you something, I hire international workers through visa programs. They cost me more money.
Yeah.
They cost me more money. But why do I hire certain people? Because I hire the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And if the best person happens to be from another country, I'll hire them, whether it costs me more or less.
And sometimes the work ethic is different.
It's different because they're here to work. They ain't got nothing else to do. What are they going to do when they're not working? But the point I'm making is how many people have actually personally had a job and lost it to an immigrant worker?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I want to know. I want to know actually.
I don't know any. I've heard stories how they come and took my job. I know.
What job did you apply to that you then got fired from? And
what's actually happened? I know there's stuff like when they were saying certain builders were losing contracts when the Polish were first coming over and undercutting them. Yeah. But let me be very honest with this. And a lot of the English guys ain't gonna like this. I've run building sites. I've run tier 2 level building sites. That's like 100 people on a site at a time. That kind of level, right? The kind of entitlement that I've heard from English tradesmen sometimes, and it's not all English tradesmen, you get some really good ones, it's like any other tradesman. When it comes to tradesmen and workers, you'll get a few that are absolutely wicked, you'll get a few that are absolute dog shit, and the most in the middle just want to do their work and go home, right? But and this is 20 years ago, I was hearing, I don't get out of bed for less than 150 quid. But this is when 150 quid was ridiculous money. This is when we're earning 80 quid. I don't get out of bed. And now the guys are like, I don't get out of bed for less than 250 quid. You better stay in bed then, bruv. You better stay in bed. Because not every job's going to pay you 250 quid a day. And when they go, oh, these boys come over and they all live in a house and they all bunk up in a flat and they undercutting us. That's not losing your job to immigrants. That's you getting a bit, resting on your laurels a little bit, and other people working for less.
And anyway,
and that's different from losing.
If you're charging a certain amount of money and you're providing a certain level of service that is of a better quality, then it's not really a competition. It's just a completely different level.
But that's an open market. That's what we're supposed to be in. An open market allows competitiveness in a market. I can undercut you, you can undercut me. Do you know what I mean? I can offer a cheaper product or a better service. If your service is much better, you should still get a lot of work.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make.
People still buy Rolls Royce. Because if it was all about money, everyone would buy a Ford. People still buy Mercedes and BMW and don't always buy Fords because it might be a better product. So it's not about that. So going back to what we were saying about black women, I'm wondering who is saying this. Because this is not black women all around the world. You're talking about black women in two countries.
But what I'm saying is, I feel with the black women thing, it's been pumped for so long now. Black women are starting to believe it.
What has been pumped?
That black men do not find black women attractive.
Can I just say something?
Some black men don't find black women attractive. Some white men don't find white women attractive.
Can I just say generally though, as a man?
Go on.
Men like women. Men like any women that they find.
I agree. I think there's loads of men that may say, I don't find Asian women attractive, but you go to Asia and you may see a different kind of level Asian woman and all of a sudden you find them attractive. So it's not that you don't find them attractive, it's that you may not have found someone that you find attractive yet. You get me?
When you go to those actual countries and see the people in their environment, they're different.
100%.
When I saw Chinese women outside of England, they look totally different. Do you know what I mean? We only see the ones that come to England. Like
I agree.
You see the women in their natural environment. It's different.
It's different. So for me, look, like I was listening to another podcast, and this guy said that the percentage of black marriages is a lot higher than people think.
Of course it is. Black men are married.
And what I looked at, for me, what was important for me in the UK, because I think he was talking about the US, but what I was looking at in the UK was how many black people are actually in the UK.
Not a lot.
Now, how many people in the UK in general? Do you know?
About 60 million.
Is that the UK, England or UK?
UK. I think the UK population is between like 55, 60 million, something like that.
Okay, cool. 55, 60 million, yeah?
It's not
Now, the percentage population, yeah, of black people is 4%. So there's 4% black people.
2.5 million.
So let's say half are black, half are white. That's 2%. So 2% of all the people in the UK are black women, yeah? And you are the other 2% as a black man, yeah?
You don't make up many.
Huh?
You don't make up much of the
No.
population.
So there's 2% looking for the other 2%, yeah? Now, I'm not saying you're not going to find someone that you find attractive, whatever. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I think it's something like 80% of the UK is white. So like, as a 2% black man or black woman, you are looking for a partner, a spouse, yeah? Now, you're looking at 40% of the population being a white man or a white woman. So now if you find those races more attractive than a black person, what is the problem? We don't have a lot of black people here. We don't have a lot of anything here. For some reason, people think that there's so many black people, there's so many Asians, there's so many mixed people. There isn't.
That's because they're looking at London. And this is what I always tell you.
Mixed people are maximum 3% in the UK.
Yeah. That's
3%.
Because most of the people, well, I say most of the people, the largest population in the UK is London, right?
Yeah.
And most of the creativeness and that comes out of London. So a lot of these podcasts and people and the culture, do you know what I mean? A lot of it's London based. Now Manny's getting involved, Birmingham's getting involved, Liverpool's getting involved, but it's still very London centric. London's a bubble.
Yeah.
London's a bubble. You go outside of London, yeah, you get hotspots. Manchester, Liverpool, Brum.
Yeah.
5-6 places. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get black people in Manchester, you're going to get black people in Wolves and Birmingham and that. You're going to get Indians and Asians in like the Bradford, Burnley or Bolton, all them areas. They're Sheffield, some places. But you go up other places, ain't no black people and Indian people in Grimsby and Middlesbrough and fucking Darlington.
I'm just...
You know what I mean? There ain't no people
I'm
like
just
that
shocked at how many black people there are in the UK.
There's not
I
that
thought
many.
there was like
'Cause
at least 10%.
It's concentrated. It's because it's concentrated in London and Brum, Manny, a little bit, but it's concentrated in London.
But
London, you can't take London out of every argument that you have.
I just feel like there's a lot of damaging information going around here.
It's America.
For the black community though, but it's affecting the UK. Because black girls think black guys are not interested in them, and it's not the truth.
But this is the math.
But what it is, it's just maths, bro. It's basic maths.
And also it's projecting.
4%, 2%.
But it's also projecting. If you think black men don't like you,
then you start to feel away and you start to resent them, bro. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's causing a problem within the race.
So how do you fix it?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I'm actually like worried about it. And me, obviously, you know, having a partner that is white, yeah. For me, it's like
you're gonna get looked at.
Yeah, but I don't mind that.
No,
do you get me?
They're gonna hate you, though.
Yeah, but I don't mind that because I see things differently. But it's messed up. I feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, like, there's so many black men that would probably be interested in you, but the energy that you're putting across based on the fact that what you feel is true and what you're starting to believe, about yourself, is damaging, bro.
What energy? What are they putting
across? That nobody wants them. It's not the truth, bro. It's not the truth.
The thing is,
it's not the truth, man.
And the thing is, there's a lot of other races, and speaking from someone who's not black but is still in, do you know what I mean, in the environment, I can speak for people. There's a lot of Indian guys and Asian guys and white guys and I know Vietnamese guys and stuff like that from round the way. They're all round the way, all Hackney, North London, West London, all round the way. They love black women.
Yeah.
But a lot of men that are not black are intimidated by black women.
Yeah.
Because of the reputation.
Yeah. But again, that's what is going around.
It's the reputation of speaking to black. But
That's
it's
what's
not only
going
that.
around.
Sometimes,
But I think it's the country, bro, because you go to Africa and black women move very differently to how black women move here.
but also, what the guys are scared of
So,
is true. They just don't know how to handle it. Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
What I mean is, non-black men are scared of black women because they think they're really strong-minded and really like headstrong.
yeah.
They are. But it doesn't mean, it just means you have to adjust how you talk to someone. Just like when you get someone who's really feminine and really scared and really shy, you have to adjust how you talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're wrong about what the thing that they're scared of, but the fear is not of the thing. The fear is that you're not able to deal with it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
yeah.
comfortable with black people. I'm comfortable with black women. I'm very comfortable with black women. But that's because I understand that when a black woman talks a certain way, it's not meant. Do you know what I mean? Like if a black woman talks a slightly higher voice, I had to learn this with my missus because they're Mediterranean, right? So when I got there when I got to my in-laws and that, it was like everyone was shouting, and I was like, "They're having an argument." They're like, "No, that's just how we talk."
Yeah.
Do you understand? So
Yeah,
now when
yeah,
someone
yeah.
talks like that to me, when I'm over there, and I'm loved up over there as a man of colour, they love me in their little place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But now I understand when they're talking loud, they're not arguing. I'm just more understanding of that culture, so I don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But that comes with interaction.
Yeah.
Do you
Exposure.
understand? Exposure and
Yeah, yeah.
interaction. So
Yeah,
with
yeah.
black women, when they talk to me in a certain way, because I've got black female friends, and I've worked with black, and I've had some of the closest women in my life are black women. So
I definitely think it can be a cultural thing,
It's just-
and maybe that is a bit. People are threatened by black culture
Because they
a
don't
little
know.
bit, and I do think that definitely is a thing. But
I know Asian girls are like
Genuinely-
scared of black guys.
yeah,
But when they meet black guys, I was like,
Yeah.
but every black guy you know, you're cool with. They're like, yeah. But I said, it's just in your head.
yeah,
Because you've not been around enough black men that you're just scared of black men.
But it's really damaging, like black culture, though. It's very damaging, man. And
But that's
I'm concerned. I am
Then
concerned.
Black culture also needs to be more open to interaction with non-black culture.
I agree,
Because what we're getting now is,
but I think we are.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you, but not,
Black men are anyway.
you know, but black men like women, innit? Do you know what I mean? But
So
like,
they're willing to be exposed to different cultures, races.
But what I'm talking about is the culture
Yeah,
and all these podcasts and all these things. They're trying to. This is my opinion on the young black community in this country, and I might get a lot of thing for it. But this is me not trying to understand black people and not trying to speak for black people. This is me giving an objective opinion of someone on the outside looking in without the emotion. Right? Black people are really trying hard in this country. At least talking, maybe not in their actions, but the narrative is they're trying to build up black culture and focus on black excellence. And that's why that other guy, I can't remember his name, Dean, the gentleman who's just won the most influential black person. You're the one who's the tech guy, the corporate guy, who just sold the £1 billion company.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but like they're really focusing on him. That's really good. But what they're doing is, like on all the podcasts, it's all so black centric
yeah,
that black people are kind of hiding themselves away and trying to heal themselves.
yeah.
Whereas maybe they might want to open themselves up to heal. Do you understand? And I understand
I
the fear
agree.
of that because black people have had a really hard time of it historically.
Yeah.
And this is more about black Americans. They don't want to heal because they want to come together and heal. But
Yeah, but I think black
don't have the
people
experience.
I think what it is, is a lot of races have their own unit.
I get that.
They have their own little kind of unity that they look after each other. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And I feel like in a black community it's very difficult. They're really struggling
because they
It's
don't
two crabs in a bucket
because they
all the
don't-
time.
because they don't have the experience of doing that.
Yeah, but
It's
they
not
will
just-
never get the experience
But-
when there is information that is damaging.
No, they
because
had-
they're really struggling
No, but-
to kind of proceed through that information and actually figure things out for themselves.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Because they had it until 30 years ago. They had it with Martin Luther King in America.
I'll be
They
honest
had it
with you,
Malcolm X.
the only time black people have it is in really hard times. If you look at history, yeah, in the hardest times,
Slavery.
that's when black people have stuck together to a certain extent. Because obviously with slavery, there's been wars, they sold each other to slave masters,
but
etc.
again, black
But
people, you can't. This is the problem.
but everyone's doing that.
When
Everyone
people
did
say
that.
black people,
Yeah.
it's putting this big umbrella.
Yeah.
Black Nigerians from Nigeria are very different
Yeah.
from a black guy in Barbados,
Yeah.
which is very different from an African American, which
Yeah.
is very different from an Ethiopian is
Yeah.
from Ethiopia is very different from a guy from fucking Atlanta.
I agree, yeah.
So when people say black people, we have to not just umbrella it.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
talking about African Americans culture, because African American culture is a very specific culture. So you can't say, oh, women,
I think
black women
there,
are
I
combative.
think there's,
But black women in South Africa ain't combative.
but that's what I'm saying. So I believe that in the Western world, they are very combative, but I believe it's based on the opportunities they get here. I think it's based on their experiences. They have to be to survive, kind of thing. I think it's almost like a survival, a defensive mechanism, almost
is
like
it
a survival
But is
trait.
it also because if you ask a lot of these girls, and this is, I don't know the stats on this, and I don't know the figures. I'm just spitballing here, yeah. And it would be nice to hear the opinion of some of our female viewers. When black women are taught to be womanly and taught what relationships are, who have they learned from? Who is teaching them how to be a wife? Who is teaching them this is what a husband is? Is there a father figure in the house that's loving? Because black dads, my experience of black fathers is really positive.
Yeah.
But I see black fathers, when you see black married men, whether it be in America or in England, that's only the only two countries that I know like that in that level. My opinion and my experience and my thing of black fathers is actually really positive.
Yeah.
Like the majority of and I'm saying active fathers, I'm not talking about the fucking guys who are dead 10 kids from 5 different women and running up. But that's a very small percentage of black men that do that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is not a large percentage. And I think that's the narrative that black men have loads of baby mothers and that. I think that's actually, if you look statistically, that's a very, very small percentage
Yeah, it is.
of black men that do that. But black men that are in long-term relationships or married and they're active fathers, I've always had a really positive view of black fathers. Like, so the women, and there's black women that are coming from those families aren't moaning. They're getting married. They're chilling. So the only black women that seem to be affected by this are usually the ones that have not had really positive black men in their life.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting women, and this happens in every culture, not just black culture, because I've seen this in Asian culture and I've seen it in European cultures, I've seen it in Romanian cultures. When you get a group of women raising each other, so you get the mum and the aunt, and both of them have split from their men, or if they've not split, the dad's a bit useless, he's a bit of a waste man, he's at home but he's an alcoholic, he's this, he's that, and then they're all daughters, and you're just getting a bunch of dysfunctional women trying to make decisions and run a household, and it's just too emotional, and it's dysfunctional, and it's toxic.
Yeah.
But there's not a strong, calm male presence in the house, and it has to be both. And this is something that I was saying to someone the other day. It can't just be strong, because then it's just who's got the loudest voice and who's got the biggest muscles. They'll comply. And it can't just be calm, because then it might be a bit walkovery.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dad who kind of dotes on his daughters, and they basically run the house. And he just goes, yes, baby, yes, darling, yes, darling. But to have a strong, calm male presence is lacking in a lot of households, black or not.
I agree.
It just becomes more prevalent in black culture because black people are more under the spotlight.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more prevalent when it happens in a black family. Just like if something happens with a terrorism or an act of any kind of violence, it's more prevalent in brown communities because there's already a fear of that. Because brown people, white person goes and blows up a mosque, angry man, frustrated. Muslim boy goes and does anything to a church, must be linked to terror cells, it must be a bigger thing, it must be, because we've already got that narrative in our head. And it's the same with absent black fathers and black men being thieves and criminals. And they'll say all these statistics like, black men only make up 2% of the population, but they make up 80% of the jails or whatever they say. And they'll use that as a narrative. So the narrative's already there. Bearing in mind, they don't take account the actual. Yeah, that might be a statistic, but they don't take the deeper meaning that they're locking up our brothers and sisters in America. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes money. Do you know what I mean? But we're not getting into that whole deep thing of why it happens in a deep-seated issue. But it's more about you being under the spotlight all the time. So, unfortunately, I think black women, as with a lot of modern women now, they're lacking a strong, calm male figure. And if all you're getting told by your mum is, motherfuckers ain't shit. Men ain't shit. Men ain't shit. Your dad left you. Men ain't shit. Men ain't shit. Men ain't shit. You're going to grow up thinking men ain't shit.
Yeah. And then you actually give a lot more of a harder time to the decent men that are actually around you.
And we've done this on a video.
Yeah.
Women who don't like men.
And decent, and those decent guys, they don't stick around. They don't stick around to hear all that bullshit, especially when they know that they are of some sort of quality.
So the men aren't just going, those men aren't just hopping over to white girls, this snow bunny thing. Some of it is just fetish, it's just sexual. But the ones that go with white women, is those white women might be from countries or areas or cultures, because white is not the same either.
Yeah. Trust me.
White is not the same
Trust me.
White there's very difference between a white person from England, from a council estate, to a white person from Scandinavia, to a white person from South Africa. It's different white people as well,
100%.
right? So, but if they've gone with people from a culture where a family unit is, they've just been raised to be wives.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, and this is not about black people, Indian people, white people, wives get wifed.
Yeah.
Wives get wifed.
But also, I wanted to talk about like just black men. Yeah. Now, like obviously, I feel like black men are a little bit of a, what's the word?
What we trying
like
to
you said, the fetish.
almost. For black women. For women.
Just for women, I think
women
you know.
love black men, man.
Yeah, and rightly so. I think you know we come across a little bit more. Well, we can come across a little bit more authoritative. I think that fear of us is actually
exciting. Because fear and excitement is the same hormone, right?
Yeah.
It's all adrenaline.
It's a bit mad. So it's like that kind of fear that they have now built in black men, of people feeling to be scared of black men, has almost done us some good in some aspects. And I think naturally, when you are at the top of, you know, when you're at like what's the word?
Top of the tree.
Yeah, when you're at the top of the tree, yeah, it's like you have the best pickings, innit? And as a black man, yeah, that may be over 6 foot, muscly, an athlete, good income, you have the best pickings. Now, if you've got the best pickings and you're looking for a partner within a region where 4 out of 100 women or 2 out of 100 women are going to be black, what are the chances that you're going to end up with a black woman?
You're just going to pick the best woman, full stop.
And that's what you've got to do. And I think people really need to kind of try and stop focusing on the race thing, because I genuinely think like in the next like 100 years, I think most people are just going to be mixed anyway. I think you're never going to you're not really going to know where people are from, because there's going to be so much mixed cultures, and I really like to see it, man.
And the thing is, a black man doesn't have to be over 6 foot and muscly to be top of the tree.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I'll say it now, I've said it to you before, like as a man who's not black, I will say openly, I think black men are more superior than any other human being on this planet.
But you would never think it the way we move, though.
No, that's the thing.
And that's worrying.
Black men don't know it. And we're not just
talking about... I think we do know it, but we don't use it to our advantage with certain situations.
Yes, but I think
because we don't know how to.
But also the superiority, they're focusing on certain things.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the normal stuff. Everyone knows black men are better at sports and athletic. Yeah. We know all that. But now, in this country, at least in the UK, the highest scoring tests and examinations are now young black boys.
Yeah.
Black boys are outdoing Chinese boys and Indian boys in schools, in academics. Black fathers and how they raise their children. Black fathers when it comes to the morality of that kind of stuff. You never hear about black men. I'm sure it happens, but you never hear about black men doing mad stuff to like kids.
No, you don't.
It's not in that
Remember,
culture.
I looked it up. It's like the lowest rates of
Yeah.
a child molester
Yeah.
is
Predators.
black.
Black men are not. It's not something that's really in that. You don't. I'm sure. Obviously, I'm sure there are, but like you don't. It's not a thing in that community.
No.
So it's not just about okay, black men are muscly and they're athletic and whatever. Because there's other races that are athletic, like Samoans and Polynesians and all that. Do you know what I mean? But black men, I think in nearly every metric and non-tangible metric, just in morality and stuff like that, I think black men are superior than any other people. Do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, they don't know it and they don't embrace it because they've been broken down so much.
Yeah.
And they've been broken down to hate themselves so much that unfortunately don't understand it. And if all black men
go on.
imagine all black men got together in this country. They'll run the country in a second, even if there's 2% of them.
Yeah.
If all black men got together in this country and said, right, we're fucking doing
But
this.
it would only happen through some major hardship.
The problem is,
As soon as they start doing well enough,
But we're
they
in
go
hardship
out.
now.
They go on their own.
yeah, but we're in hardship
But
now.
they don't realise it, and I feel like the black women are more in.
You think black men, you think young black boys don't know they're in war every day? They're killing each other.
Yeah, but they don't know. It's the brainwashed. They're gone. They don't know that.
Yeah, but they know they're not doing well.
They,
Because that's
they-
why they're doing music and they're doing that trying to get out of it.
And I'm not trying to say, because sometimes there's always choices in it, yeah. But they don't have to do the dirt. Like you can go and do what you're doing on the roads and sell stuff
Yeah,
and
but it's
whatever. And
It's
but then what? You start getting robbed. You start robbing each other, and
That's what
like
I'm saying. It's fear-based.
yeah. But it's just. I think there's just a lot of like brainwashed kids, man, and I think they don't realize it until they get to a certain age, and it's too late.
Or
It's
they're
too
in
late.
jail. Or they're dead.
It's too late.
But
And
this-
then like
but-
the one out of a million makes it and ends up being, I don't know, like a famous rapper who now doesn't feel that he should have been promoting shit and he doesn't feel, or do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
but this is the problem. What you've just said is part of the problem. They're aspiring to rappers and society.
Yeah.
And that.
but who else is there to aspire to?
That's the
A
problem.
doctor's not a
But there's-
hero. A
but
doctor's not an
that's-
interesting guy. He's not interesting. He's a
That's the
boring
problem.
brother.
That's the problem. It's not sexy enough.
But it's mad.
But that's the narrative. We've put the narrative that a 9 to 5 or being a professional is not cool.
Yeah.
And that's why that gentleman, the one who I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. Dean, someone. The one who just won the most influential black man. You ask him, he's like, I'm not an entrepreneur. They go, what business did you run? You ran sole business. He goes, no, I'm corporate. I manage. My job is to go in, manage a business, take it over, and then sell it to bigger companies. You know, like when Beats sold to Apple and that kind of stuff. He'd be the person, I think, I'm not quite sure, but I think he's the person that kind of he's the guy that does the deals in the company. That's what he does. He goes into tech companies. But he's suddenly made having a 9 to 5 corporate job sexy. Because my man now is on all the TV screens.
But we need more exposure of those kind of people.
That's the point I'm making.
And we don't have it.
Because the only aspiring, and Big Nasty once said it in one of his raps, he goes, all we've got is music and sport. And if we don't have those things, as in that's the only outs that we have from our life, it's music or sport. But there's and this
There's
is
so
where,
many other routes, man.
and also, that's all physical. Music is like physical, it's talking and whatever, and sport is physical. But black men need to understand, and it breaks my heart a little bit. They don't understand there's more to them than just physical. They're more than just muscular and good athletes and rappers and singers. And basically, and I don't mean this is going to be a really bad choice of words, but it's like performing monkeys. And when I say monkeys, I mean more like not in a race way. But you know what I mean? They're like performers, like jesters.
Yeah.
Go and jump about, go and bounce a ball.
But
go and do
even
that.
if they do that,
Go
with the
and sing and
entertainment
dance.
industry, they're massive in the entertainment
They're
industry.
massive,
but they
but they're
don't
not-
even know how to manage themselves in it half the time.
No, but you know what? That is where Chris Rock, years and years and years ago, 20, 30 years ago, he made a great point. He goes, there's a difference between rich and wealth, right? This is when Shaquille O'Neal was playing basketball in the height of his career. Shaq was massive, right? And he went, Shaq is rich. The guy that signs his checks is wealthy. So even if you're a big superstar money guy and you're a rapper and you're Central C or whoever it is at the moment that's got all the money, someone's paying your checks. And that's an old white guy sitting somewhere in a fucking office. Even Dr. Dre, as big as, he's different because obviously they've transcended a certain amount. When you get to a certain amount, now Shaq does have wealth and Dr. Dre does have wealth. But it's after a long time they've had that. But even when Dr. Dre was running a label and doing the whole Aftermath thing, He's part of Interscope, which is part of a bigger. There's a chain.
But the problem is though, we only really see those people from entertainment and sport.
I think that's
that
on
are
purpose. I think that's
we
on
don't
purpose.
see anyone else.
But I think that's on purpose. I think that's fed to black people to show that's all you can be. You can be a performer for us, sing and dance for us, bounce a ball for us, but don't ever think you're going to be in politics. That's why you need more to see whether you agree with his politics or not. You need to see Barack Obama. You understand? Because you could be the president of the United States of America. And I was, hearing some guy, they're talking about all the inventions made by black people. It's ridiculous. Like the games consoles, black people, like heart surgery and all these traffic lights, all this stuff. All these things that we just take for granted. There's so many things. GPS, satellite navigation, black woman. Do you know what I mean? All of these things have been created by black people, but we never hear about them. Why not? There's nothing bad about saying a black person invented heart surgery, but why? Because what that does is it gives too many young black boys and girls aspirations. And we don't want young black boys and girls having aspirations. We'll let you go there. Have that aspiration. Go and sing and dance. Go and bounce a ball. Go and kick that. But don't start coming in here because we know you're good enough. But we don't want you in here because then you're going to start mixing and we're going to start fucking listening to you.
I agree.
You see what I mean? So it's
and this is why I'm just worried about that whole, that whole thing with just the black race in general, like with the women, with what men and women feel that they can become. Like if you you're going to the source now. You're going to the mother. Now if you damage the mother's mindset, it's done, bro. Like it's completely done. Because the mothers are the ones who are giving birth to their sons and daughters.
But Africans ain't doing that. West Africans are not saying be a sportsman, be a that. West Africans, like Nigerians, Ghanaians, other countries in Senegal, Ivory Coast, the whole lot, they're putting their kids through education. They're putting a importance and a priority on education. So it's not black people. Again, it's African Americans and black British. You can't keep saying black people because there's plenty of black people that are not doing that. It's African, and even Africa, you can't say Africa. Africa's fucking massive. Do you know what I mean? You can't even say Africa, but like say West African kids are doing well in schools, better than Chinese, better than Indian. So that means they're not just saying go and be a sportsman, go and be a whatever. Even if they want to do that afterwards. I was listening to, what's that singer? I quite like him. Koji Radical. Have you heard of Koji Radical? Northwest London, I think. He's a rapper, but he's kind of funky rap. You know what I mean? He's out there. He wears the cashmere shirts, and the whole. He's about it. But I like him. But he's got a first class degree. So he went into that, but he's got a first class degree. So he had that as a base that his parents went, you're having this first. Now, if you want to go and do singing and dancing afterwards, fair enough. But you're getting your education first. Now, whether an education means you're clever or means you get a job, that's a whole different debate. The point I'm making is they're being taught that they are more than just singing and dancing or kicking a fucking ball.
The problem is, though, this is the problem, So you're saying, in Africa, or West Africa or whatever. But then in order to have opportunities, they have to come to the Western world.
But they've got the
and one generation goes, 2 generation goes, and it's gone, bro. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they talk about Caribbeans and Africans, and how the Caribbeans seem to be kind of almost like a lower level than the Africans, I believe it's because the Caribbeans, have established themselves here earlier.
No, I don't think that's why Africans...
That's what I think.
I don't think that's why Africans look at Caribbeans differently. I don't think it's in this country. They've looked at Caribbeans differently well before...
No, they did.
Well before...
They did, but I'm not talking about how they look at them. I'm talking about how they're doing in the UK.
But you told me yourself that Caribbean culture does not place a large amount of pressure on education and stuff. They're a lot more laxed with stuff like that.
I agree.
African culture has a lot more presence. Now the difference is...
I agree, but was that initially because I'm 3rd generation. I'm 2nd generation. But a lot of Africans that are coming, over now, more so.
First.
They're first.
But
So what I'm saying is, if you look at second and third generation Africans, they're the same as me, bro. They're the same as like
Indians as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Indians as well.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's because you assimilate into the culture.
That's what I'm saying.
That happens anyway. But why does assimilating into this culture is bad? Because white people in this country do well. So if you're just assimilating into the culture, why would that be a bad thing?
Because whatever they're being exposed to here, they're not strong enough to manage.
So that's to do with... Okay, so I don't know this. This is not a fact that I know of, right? I don't know. Now, the reputation of Jamaicans is that it's not a big family tie.
What do you mean?
As in, there's a lot of men that have a lot of children with a lot of different things. That's a reputation that Jamaican men have.
Yeah.
Deserved or not. So that's like a reputation of Jamaican men, right? They always got different things.
There's thoughts that I have about that, personally.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's true, not true. I'm saying that is the reputation. I don't know enough about it to make a statement on it. But that is the reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas West African men have more of a reputation of a family unit.
Yeah.
So is it the strong family unit that is making them having more of a male role model?
Yeah.
Because if your male role model is daddy was a rolling stone and I've got 13 other brothers and sisters or 5 other mums, it's the role model of having a dad.
I'll be honest with you. I think that a lot of things in Jamaica have been
propaganda.
I feel like Jamaica's a little bit more, I don't know the word, but like a little bit more kind of like infiltrated than Africa.
But just Jamaica? What about the other Caribbean islands? Because
I think the other Caribbean islands as well. But they're so small. But they're so small.
But when you say infiltrate, what do you mean? Like physically?
I feel that even the culture within Jamaica is changing.
But all Caribbean islands are very different.
They are.
Because I've been to a few, and Jamaica, I've not been to Jamaica actually, but like Dominican Republic is very different from Cuba, from Haiti. And Haiti and Dominican Republic on the same island. Yeah. And it's two very, very different countries and two very, very different cultures. Yeah. And then you get them other countries like the Aruba, and they're like Dutch. So it also depends on who the original settlers, the Spanish, the Dutch, the English. So it's very hard to compare Jamaica and Haiti. That's like saying African. African could be Morocco, could be South Africa, could be Syria.
But I think Jamaicans represent a large majority of Caribbeans. I know.
It's not even the biggest island though.
But then it goes back to
it's known for it.
Having children, I guess. There's more Jamaicans than I would say any other.
Cuba?
I would say there's more Jamaicans than Cubans.
Have a look on it on Google.
Maybe not in Jamaica and in Cuba, but in the world.
Because Cuba's the largest island, isn't it? Cuba's the largest Caribbean island.
But I would say there's more Jamaicans in the world.
But that's because of the Commonwealth.
Than there are Cubans. But that's what I'm saying.
So Cuba's communist, that stays there.
But this is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying with Jamaica is that it's been run by Britain for so long.
But so was India. Yeah. Longer.
But I just feel like India has a better unity, the way they work.
Yeah, but they've been here. So why?
And that's what I'm saying. And now when they've been here, you're seeing the generations now. It's changing.
But they're still doing better.
At the moment.
But they've been here as long as
long.
But does that mean they came from a slightly stronger family background, so they've got a little bit more resistance, and it might take another generation for it to go?
I think so. I feel like I need to look a little bit more into the history. Yeah.
Because India did it. And remember, my parents are from Africa.
Yeah.
So my parents are from Africa.
But I'm not using it as an excuse, But what I'm saying is, I feel like all those different countries in different continents were a lot stronger in kind of how they view family, how, the family settings work, their priorities in life. I feel like as soon as you start to come to the Western world and expose yourself to the Western world, your thoughts and your family traditions start to become contaminated almost. And it gets watered down. And it takes 2-3 generations, especially when you're living in the UK, and it's done, bro. It's done.
I think respectfully though, I think your view of those African families and African culture is a little bit romantic, a little bit romanticized.
What do you mean?
Because remember, it was Africans that sold Africans. to.
And I said that initially, yeah.
It was them that sold
But
it,
that
but
was,
also,
but that was through war though. So what happened was obviously they came over, didn't they? The white came over.
No, they didn't go into West.
But Africans were enslaving each other as all cultures were
That's what I'm
doing
saying. So it's
in
not-
general. But it's when they started selling to abroad because that was an opportunity to trade, wasn't it?
But
That's why they did it.
and they sold to the British because there was no such thing as Americans then.
yeah. So having a war with I don't know, your neighbor and enslaving them was a normal thing to do.
But you're talking about 100, 500 years ago. But even up to 50 years ago, there was a big genocide in Nigeria. They killed off a whole race because they killed off the Biafran tribe, didn't they? Because you've got the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Hausa, and then there was a whole other tribe, the Biafran, because it was a whole thing about they wanted a country.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just on this propaganda thing, but I just feel like there's a lot. There's just a lot of, I think, population management. I think there's a lot of population management, population control. I'll go deep on it. Man,
no, I agree with you. There is a lot of propaganda, but I think we shouldn't romanticize our ideals of what we think it was before. People do that with.
No, but I think it's just the same as everywhere else.
No, but people romanticize certain things. It's like, you know, when people say, "Oh, the Native Americans lived really peacefully, and the white man came."
But of course they didn't. They used to kill each other same way and boom, boom, boom. I believe that.
If you give a Native American, and I've studied Native because I've got a degree in anthropology, so I've studied all that, and even I studied it in school. But like Native American tribes, if you'd given one of them a missile and told them you can wipe out every other tribe, they would have done it. They just didn't have the.
But the problem is, in all these countries, they have their own culture. Yeah, they have their own ways of life. You come to the Western world, there is no culture, there is no way of life. It's everyone for themselves, anything goes. It's like...
But you also said earlier in this podcast that you're happy about all the mixing.
I am, because it's exposure and it comes exposure and learning.
But that comes with it.
I agree.
Because our parents wanted us to come over and get a British education.
Yeah.
Don't become too British.
Yeah.
Like, fuck's sake, what do you want?
Yeah. But then do that. But you can do that. But in order to do that, you have to expose your children to their cultures, and you have to teach them things.
But you're going to get a mix. You can't say
you are going to get
Indian
a mix. Yeah,
and then go to a school. You're going to want white food.
Yeah.
When I come home, I might not want chapatis, I want fish and chips.
I hear that. I hear it. No, you're right.
Now, luckily, my parents were from another country.
You're right.
Not India. So they already had culture.
You're right.
So my parents grew up in a black country.
You're right. Yeah.
So my parents came over with, and my mum, fortunately, I always say my mum is the reason I love food. And I cook different things. My mum is unusual for an Indian woman. My mum is an old Indian woman, is a foodie. And she cooks all different food. And she will try making Italian food and Chinese food. So growing up, we had different types of food because my mum's a foodie. I didn't just have Indian food, and the only time I had anything else was outside.
Yeah.
I grew up eating.
But that might have been good for you.
But I'm saying it's a good thing. But what I'm saying is I've never been Indian.
Yeah.
Now, I know some Indian kids that when they started school, like they're from this country, born in this country, but they start school, they can't speak English. The first 3-4 years of their life, they're only speaking Bengali, Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, whatever. They go to school and they can't speak English properly, whereas I always could. So, but I never thought of that as a bad thing. I think you can still have an identity of your race and still be perfectly mixed with others.
But to have an identity, you have to understand your own history, and a lot of people don't.
I didn't. My parents don't know about Indian history. Most Indians and say like Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, they don't really know what's.
Yeah, but you can't use you as an example because you've done your own work
that's what I'm saying.
on history and in loads of religious races, religions. You've done that.
But I had to learn. I wasn't taught that.
Yeah, I know.
But I still have an identity.
Yeah,
I still
that's
understand.
True. So then you're one of those people that kind of, you're lucky because you've done your own work.
Yeah, because we don't get taught. A lot of the times we get taught, especially when you're from.
But like, did you ever get taken back home?
No, I don't have a back home. Where's my back home? I don't have family in India.
No, but not in India, but in Africa.
They moved. They moved over. They used to get brought over by the British and then get brought over by the British. I ain't got no one in Africa. I ain't got no one in India. Where do I go? My parents, my dad.
Where's your family from again?
So,
in Africa?
Kenya.
Yeah, Kenya.
East. Because what happened there...
And so they have no one in Kenya?
Hear this one. Hear this crazy shit. I found my parents' old passports and my grandparents' old passports because I was doing something a few years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I had to do this thing. It was a government thing, so I had to get like passports, and I found my grandparents' old passports and my dad and parents' old passports. My mum and dad were both born in East Africa. My grandparents, both sets, my mum's parents and my dad's parents, were all born in India and what is now Pakistan, but before it was divided, it was just India, because it only became Pakistan after the Second World War, and they were born in the 1920s, right? They were brought from India to Africa to work, because when the British took over Africa, they needed to build infrastructure, right? Schools, railways, whatever. But the Africans at that time weren't skilled labourers because they just weren't. They didn't build stuff like that, right? So who did the English bring over? Rather than spend time training the Africans, they've already got a big workforce in India. They brought them over to build India. So what happened with my grandparents? They didn't know each other, my grandparents separately, right? They literally got dumped in the middle of two cities in a forest. I shit you not. They got dumped in the middle of a forest.
Grandparents?
So my grandparents, my dad's dad. So I can talk about my dad's dad because I know more about him than my mum's dad with regards to his journey, right? So they got thrown into a place between two Kenyan cities. I don't know about Mombasa, Nairobi, everyone knows them, right? But there was a place called Nakuru, which is a big city, and there's a place called Eldoret, right? And they're two cities. And in the middle is just forest and greenery. My dad is born in the Masai. Like, my dad is from rural fucking Kenya. My dad went to school with the Masai Mara.
That's it.
Right? My mum's from Mombasa. She was born on the coast. Mombasa's on the coast. It's a beach area. It's a city. It's not the capital. The capital is Nairobi, I think, of Kenya. But Mombasa is a big city, yeah, and it's a beach city. My mum's a city girl. Not in that way. Do you know what I mean? My mum's a city girl. But my dad is like from the country. My dad's dog used to go out and bring home a bird that he caught. Like my dad's den once. He was climbing up mango trees.
Yeah.
So their dad got dropped in the middle of two cities in like a little commune. And then going, right, build the railroad from one to the other, and you live in the forest in the middle. And they were actually in a place that had no name.
Okay.
Because it's a forest.
So what do they call it?
So they named it. So with broken Swahili, the place in the area had really clear water. It had really good water. So the word for water was maji in Swahili. And the word for good or clear or nice is Masuri, right? So they named the place Maji Masuri, clear water, right? And that is now the name of the town. It's officially the name of the city now. And it was a bunch of Indians who came over in broken English and went, that's nice water. What's nice water, Swahili? What's water? Yeah, nice water. And that is where my dad is born on his passport.
Okay,
right?
That's cool.
Now hear this one. This gets even more thingy, right? Both my parents have Indian parents. My grandparents came from India, born in India. My parents were born with British passports. They have never had a passport that's not British.
Okay.
Right? Because they were under the British Empire.
Okay.
So they had no rights as Indians. They've never had an Indian passport, and they had no rights in Africa as a Kenyan. Both my parents are born with British passports.
Wow.
Right? So now you've got the blue ones. Since we left the EU, and then before that was the red ones, the maroon, which is probably your generation. But before that, when I was a kid, we had a black passport. Any of our older people there was a black passport, and it had the same as the European one.
I think we've gone black to that now.
No, it's like a blue now. It's like a dark blue. So it was a slightly bigger black one, and it had the Queen's crest on Her Majesty. It was His Majesty, one of the two. It was Her Majesty by that point, because she came in the 50s, innit? So that was that, and it was the crest, United Kingdom. That was my passport because I'm born in England, right? My parents didn't meet until they were in England, by the way. They didn't meet in Africa. My parents met in London. They got introduced because it was like, oh, you want to get married? Oh, there's another family. They've just moved from Kenya as well. You might have something in common.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones because it was Indians from Kenya are very different from Indians from India that are very different from Indians from England.
Of course.
I am very different from Indians from India.
Yeah.
And the same, Kenyan Indians have their own culture because they took on a lot of African and Kenyan stuff. Kenyan street food is all Indian.
Is it?
Kenyan food is Indian. That's how much of a culture, that's how much of an impact the Indian
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So Kenyans do like, onion bhajis. That's part of their street food. 'Cause that's come from the Indian part, right? It's all the spices and that. So anyway, that being said, they're born with English passports. Now hear this one. On my mum's and my dad's passport, they all had something different depending on which region you were from. Yeah, it will say citizen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, whatever, right? And that's what all other passports. That's what it says. That's cool. On their ones, there's a little extra line on the bottom, a little caveat, little asterisk. Protectorate of the British Empire, subject of the British Empire.
What does that mean?
Protectorate of the Protectorate of the territory of Kenya. What that's telling you is you're English enough to die for us, English enough to be here, but you're not quite English to get it written. Like, you've got have a little asterisk that you're British, but that's because we owned your country and you've become British by kind of proxy. You understand what I'm saying? So it was the word subject. When people say you're a subject, it just means you're a slave. You're a subject to the king. So when they say my king's subjects, my subjects, it's a posh word. It's a nice word of saying slave, right? So citizen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Asterisk, or not actually an asterisk, but as in subtext, subject of the British Empire, protectorate of the colony of Kenya. So a little line. I think my dad's had something different, my mum's had something different. One of them had subject, one of them had protectorate. So it's just that little. You're here, but you're not quite. But my parents are both born British citizens. So where did they go back to?
Yeah,
where did they come from?
That's home. That's home.
But hear this, my dad, since he came here
that's home,
in the
man.
1960s, right? My dad has never been back to Kenya.
That's
and my mum's never been back to Kenya.
Don't
because when they came, there's no one there to go back to. There's no family. So I asked my dad now, as when he got older and he got ill, and I was like, Dad, don't you want to go back ever? And he goes, I want to remember it how it was when I was a teenager.
So you don't want to go back?
I don't want to go back and see it now, because now it's going to have fucking Wi-Fi signals, and you know what I mean? He remembers climbing on a tree and sending his dog out to get food. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So he goes, I always want to have that memory in my head.
Fair enough.
And I get that. I get the logic of it. But I've never been to Kenya. I've been to India once because it was some wedding when I'm talking about when I was a kid, like 7 or 8. Didn't like it at that time. It wasn't really developed. I went there as a tourist. It wasn't for me. I'm going home.
I think going back to where your family are from, whether you have family there or not, I think is educational.
I agree with you, and I've thought for a long time, because when my dad was terminally ill, so I think that's the right word. Terminally, I don't want to. Terminally ill means that it's uncurable, isn't it? So, this is just a personal thing to me that I've thought about for the last few years. I think at some point I need to go to Kenya.
Yeah,
by myself.
Okay.
Not with my dad, not with my mum.
Yeah.
And I think it will be quite an emotional experience.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not ready for it or anything. I can handle all that shit.
Yeah.
But I think at some point I need to go. I need to see when my dad was born.
100%.
I think I need to see where he was from, where my mum was from.
100%.
I'll go as a tourist because I've got no one.
Because what it also does, is it makes you kind of see life a little bit differently as well.
And this is what I say to you about when we're saying black people that you can't thingy it together, because black Americans can't do that.
But yeah, and there's always a lot of talk about black Americans. They don't know where they're from.
But here,
they ain't got a clue.
When you talk about black people,
they know where they're from.
Black people in this country, well, they won't say
half
black, half. What was it that guy said the other day?
African American. That's what they say.
No, just the guy made a really good point the other day. I don't know if it was a black guy or white. No,
say half African American, half like Spanish or whatever.
Half black, half Spanish.
But other people in the UK, they'll be like, I'm half Jamaican, half Spanish, or
half Nigerian. They'll have an actual country.
Black people always ask each other, where are you from? And they do not mean what ends, or do not mean like what part of the UK.
What are you?
Where are you from?
I had that with a girl the other day who's a friend of mine. And I don't know if it was me being racist or whatever. I thought she was Nigerian. Always thought she was Nigerian.
Yeah, where's she from?
She goes, when did you think I've bear in mind, I've known this girl over a decade. She's been my friend.
You never asked?
I've always thought, I don't know if she
always
told me.
ask.
No, I don't know if she told me and I forgot or someone else told me, or I just assumed. I don't know if I was being mad racist and thought she's Nigerian, right? Because she looks kind of Nigerian. Do you know what I mean? I knew she was African. And I don't know if that's just me doing a mad racist one and just saying, you must be Nigerian. But I've always just assumed she's Nigerian. The other day I mentioned it, I said, but you're Nigerian, so it's a bit different. She goes, who the fuck told you I was Nigerian? She goes, all this time you've known me, you thought I was Nigerian. I was like, yeah. And this is like a good mate of mine. And she was
Where's
like,
from?
she's half Congolese, half Angolan.
Right.
And I was like,
very different.
and I was like, bruh, what did I think? And I was trying to rack my brains. Does
she even look Nigerian?
Yeah, she does.
Does she?
I
don't know, bro.
I can't say that. You know what? That sounds mad racist going, yeah.
I don't know, you know, that's so different. But yeah,
But I
I
understand
think,
different Africans look different.
but I think in America, I think that I don't know where they came. I don't even know where they came from. It must be from slavery.
It was West Africa.
It must be slavery.
Well, there's a whole other argument now.
It must be just slavery because
No, there's another. I mean, the standard argument is they got brought over from West Africa, and that is because they do a lot of DNA.
Yeah.
It was a lot of West Africa. It was mainly West Africa. There was some that came from Middle Africa, and some that came from like Mozambique and some of the islands and stuff. But generally, it was Nigeria because it was the nearest port to get there and come back. Right. So when you're going down from England, it would have been the western tip. So you're looking at what's Western Africa. Nigeria, Niger, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Cameroon, Ghana, Gambia, Burkina Faso, which they might not have even been countries at that time, but that West African tip, right? So that's one argument. There's a new argument now, and I don't know enough about it to comment on it too much, so I'll have to do my research. But I've heard it, that there was black people in Africa, there was black people in America before white people. That was the Moors.
I thought they were like Indians, kind of.
No, black people.
Okay.
We're not talking about the natives. Because even you know, Native Americans are not from America either.
They're from South America.
No. They're from Tibet and China. So have you noticed Native Americans got the eyes the same as Chinese people?
Yeah.
It's because they came over when Alaska was linked to Russia and Tibet and that. So they came over following buffalo. Some settled in Canada, which was more the Inuit tribe, which were used to be known as Eskimos, but that's inappropriate now. And then they just carried on following down to the plains of America. So even Native Americans from about 20,000 years ago came from Tibet, Siberia, all those cold areas that was linked to Russia, which was linked to Alaska at that time. When it was linked, they came over. So even natives are not from there as such, right? But what they're saying is, the new argument is that there was black people in America before the white settlers, and they were the Moors.
Is that the ones that were in New York? No.
So the Moors,
they were the slaves.
The Moors were the Africans who took over places like Portugal, Spain, Italy. They used to go. It was like almost Arabic, like the Saracens and places like that. The Saracens were Turkish. But like the Moors were like black warriors and black thinkers and academics and stuff like that. And the Moors, they said they'd already built ships and they'd already gone to America before them. Now, whether they were there when the white people came or they'd gone and gone back, I don't know. I don't know enough about the argument. But the argument is the Moors, you know, like Sicilians in Italy, the south are a bit darker and Spanish are a bit darker. That's because they got mixed with the Moors. So in Portugal, they got up to Lisbon. They took over some of Portugal. So in Lisbon and in Portugal, there's words in Portuguese that are Arabic.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So the Portuguese for God willing is Oxalá. And what does Oxalá sound like?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But Portuguese is Oxalá, and that comes from the Arabic. So when you go down to some places in the southern tip of Portugal, the architecture is Arabic. They got the Arabic domes and the Arabic architecture because the Moors got there. So the Moors were Muslims, but there were African Muslims, North Africa and Arabic, they used to come over. So that's why Italian, in the south, they're a lot darker. So Italians in the north are blonde hair, blue eyes. When you get the Sicilians, they're the black hair. They almost look like, why are you so dark? Why have you got jet black hair? It's because they're all little islands were ports. You jump to get a port and then go. So that's why all little islands were so heavily defended, like Sicily, Sardinia, Malta, Gibraltar, Cyprus. They've always been fought over because they're stepping points.
Yeah.
You can keep your navy there and jump over.
Yeah, makes sense.
But that's also why those islands are also very fiery people, because they're always in defence mode, because they always were getting attacked and they were always getting taken over and they were always getting raped and pillaged. So those people from there are very, very defiant people, because they were there, they were defending, and that's what the mafia originally was for. And people don't realise. So the Sicilian mafia the actual original Sicilian mafia was called the Cosa Nostra. Cosa Nostra means this thing of ours. It was actually protecting that community.
Okay.
It was protecting the community. It was like a
Yeah,
the local boys that are going to protect it, and then it became a racketeering and the whole thing, and the protection rackets, and it went to Italy. But originally, it was protect that little island, and that's what it is. So they're saying black people were in America before the things, but like I said, I've just heard this and I haven't taken the time to research it. But the standard argument in the whole thing is that obviously what the British, because there was no such thing as Americans then, they needed a labour force in the tropical climates, which is the southeastern Americas. So you didn't get much slavery up in the northwest of America, in Montana and San Francisco. You did get like the Chinese coming over to the railroads, but it was basically with the tropical temperatures because that's where the crops were. So cotton, sugarcane. So the first Jamaicans were white men, as in the citizens of Jamaica.
Oh yeah.
When Jamaica was a
Of course,
country. So you'd be like, Colonel John Jeremy of Jamaica, Colonel Andrew Smythe of Mr. Andrew Smythe of the family of Barbados, the Smythe family of Barbados. The first citizens of those countries were white English people. And they said, well, I'm a Jamaican because that's our country now. We've taken So basically, the slaves were like, it was labour for picking crops, and the crops, that's why it was Caribbean. But what people don't understand is, and this is where I really always wish that black Americans and black British do a little bit more research on stuff rather than go off emotion, because
100%.
what black Americans don't understand is, out of all the slaves that went to the Americas, Caribbean, South America, Brazil, all that, do you know how much percentage of them went to the United States of America? Have a guess. Have a guess percentage-wise. So
I think a
100%
mad small amount, like 10%.
Have another guess.
Less.
Have another guess, because you're so far out.
5%.
You're so far out.
What, like 2.5%?
So far out.
What, like 1%?
You're still out.
So why is there so many black people?
There's not. How many black? You thought there was loads of black people in England. What's the percentage?
Yeah, but there's like 20% in America.
More than Cuba, the whole country's black. More than Jamaica, the whole country's black.
Yeah, but
more than Dominican Republic, the whole country's black. More than Brazil. How many black people in Brazil? You see all those black people in Brazil?
Yeah, there's quite
There's
a few.
loads more people in those countries. The whole population of... All right, so say that... Okay, what's the population of Jamaica?
Oh, it's mad small.
All
It's
right.
insanely small.
5 million? 10 million?
It's probably.
All right.
It's mad
so you
small.
think... Okay, so think. I don't think Americans are 20% of America. I don't think black people are 20% of America. I think about 10%. So 10% is 30 million. Right? But remember, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, black people were bred in America for slavery. So you used to have stud farms and stuff like that, right? But they weren't bred as much in those other countries. Yeah, so there's been a more... And plus, America's a richer country. So over the last few hundred years, there's more black people, right? But the amount of slaves... There's an island called Martinique.
Yeah, I heard of that.
More slaves went to that tiny island of Martinique than the whole of the United States. A very small population went, because the actual tropical climates were Jamaica.
Yeah, it was in the Caribbean.
Well, it wasn't Haiti then. It was the island is what Hispaniola, which is Haiti and Dominican Republic on the same island. The islands. That's the one that Columbus discovered, Hispaniola. He decimated the whole. He decimated the tribe there. 90% of them were killed because of him. He was a psychopath. He had a boatload of psychopaths with him. They used to, the rape and pillaging, obviously, the whole thing, that's pretty normal. They used to use babies as chew toys for their attack dogs. They used to play fetch with people's babies. Like, it was psychopathic behaviour. If there was 100 of the, I don't know what I think it was the Taínos are the ethnic group there, the natives, the native quote-unquote Indians. Every 100 went down to 10. He decimated the whole population by the time he finished there. He actually got fired. You know how bad you got to be in those times in slavery for your government to go, bruv, you're going a bit too far now. They sent him over there to fuck up the place. Do you know how bad you must be for your queen to call you back and go, no, you're taking it a bit too far, bruv. You need to get fired. My man got fired. That's how bad he was.
I didn't even know that.
And you know why they're called Indians?
Why?
You know, Native Americans, we always grew up calling them Red Indians,
Yeah.
quote unquote, because now it's not a thingy. And even though you've got Washington Redskins and Indian, you know why they're called Indians?
Why?
Because they thought they discovered India. And when they hadn't, they went, no, we're not Indians. They went, you're Indians. The arrogance of it, to call them Indians, even though it's
And that's why they call it the West Indies.
Indies, because they thought it was India.
So it's
the whole point of the travel was they were trying to prove the world was round.
Yeah.
So they said, we can get to India that way. I bet I'll show you, because we always go India this way, but I'll prove it's round by going that way. But they didn't know how far it was. So when they've been travelling for 3-4 weeks or however long it takes,
They're like, oh yeah, we're here now.
must be here. It couldn't be any longer than this. So they've ended up in Hispaniola originally, and then he went to the other Caribbean. I don't think Columbus actually ever set foot in mainland North America. In the
Okay.
United States. They say he discovered America. I don't think he actually ever stepped foot in America. It was the West Indies and Venezuela and a few of the top,
Well, like South America then.
the top coast of South America, Venezuela and all that, and the Caribbean islands. He never went to mainland. They thought it was India, which is why it's called the West Indies,
Yeah.
and why the native people were called Indians, because they thought they discovered India. And I wish, like, black Americans learn more about this, because sometimes their view is so much through emotion.
Yeah.
It's too through emotion, and if someone like me says something,
Yeah.
it's immediately dismissed, because it's like, well, what do you know? You don't know our struggle. Don't know our struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes you've got to look at what actually happened.
Yeah, I agree. But
There
I
are
think
books that they could read. When I was in my
yeah,
20s,
but in America, they're pumped to believe that they're American until they do something wrong. But anyway, like I believe they're pumped in their head, like you're American, be proud, you're American, you're American, you're American. That's all they believe.
yeah, but Americans are weird, because Americans will say you're American until something goes wrong.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Arabs are Americans until something happens and we put you
This
in
is what I'm
Guantanamo
trying
Bay.
to say.
Japanese Americans, you know about the internment camps, World War II, right?
Yeah.
When they got anyone that was Japanese got put in a fucking open air prison in America, just in case. We know you're American now, but we're at war over Pearl Harbor with Japan, so we just want to play it safe, which is what they did with Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, you're Arabic, but it's better safe than sorry. Do you know what I mean? Here's a joke. Here's a little fact for you that you might not know. Do you know what the most highest decorated battalion in American military history is?
The Asian one, the Indians,
The Japanese.
Japanese.
There was a platoon or a battalion, either called the 442nd or the 447th. I don't remember. But basically, after Pearl Harbor, they put all Japanese in jail. But they're open air prison, not reservations. They kept them all together just in case. Just in case one of you's not, you're infiltrating us. Because America deals out of fear. We all know that. They're all their actions out of fear. To prove they were more American than Japanese, they let some Japanese people make a battalion in the American army and just send them on suicide, just missions to get fucked up. You know what I mean? They threw them in as cannon fodder. They ended up getting the more medals of valor. They've ended up, even to this day, they're the most highly decorated unit ever in the American military. And it was Japanese people fighting Japan and fighting Germany, because it was the Second World War. But they wanted to show, we'll show you how American we are. We'll show you our loyalty is to this land. Do you know what I mean? Even though you think because we are of Japanese ancestry, we're going to side with them, we'll show you. They got more medals of valor. They're the most highest decorated unit in American military history. Unless I'm wrong on that historically with military history. But certainly they were up there. And it was all Japanese or majority Japanese American unit. Because they went, yeah, go on then, you want to prove it to us? And they just threw them in there. They were like, yeah, we'll show you. And they came back the most. I think it's not a unit anymore. It must have got disbanded or whatever. But ain't that crazy? In the British military, it was the Indian.
But I'm not surprised.
In the British military,
Because I just feel like you put races to the test, that you put them in the hardship, and they always come out stronger, man.
Yeah, but hear this. The British Army had 2 million Indian volunteer force in the Second World War. This is what makes me laugh when people say get out of our country, and I'm like, if it wasn't for India, you'd be speaking German.
Trust me, dog.
You would be speaking German. Don't make any mistake about that. And if it wasn't for Muslims from North Africa, they would fought for the French Foreign Legion, all that. They owned Algeria and all the French-speaking countries, they were Muslim. Even the Indian force, obviously, majority was Sikh, because Sikhs were the warrior race, but there were still lots of Hindus and Muslims from India fighting in the Indian army. But hear this one. Do you know how many Indians fought for Germany and fought for Hitler?
I mean,
Lots. There was whole regiments with swastikas and under the German army. Because they were fighting their oppressor. Why am I going to fight for England? England's our oppressor. Germany
it makes sense.
Yeah, don't worry, get this sorted.
It makes sense.
Google the Tiger Regiment. Anyone who wants to find out about that, Google the Tiger Regiment, and you see Sikh soldiers with turbans, full on uniform, with some SS swastika guy.
Oh my
He's standing in
days.
front of them, saluting them, and he's lining up his men to go and fight. But when you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What am I going to fight for England for? They're the ones who are taking over our country. I'm going to go and fight for this man, because this little man with a moustache is telling me, if I fight for his country, he'll give us freedom at the end.
And this is the thing about war, man. It is just
crazy, isn't it?
Corrupt. Like, it's just messed up, man.
And hear this as well. Do you know who was responsible for guarding Palestine and Jerusalem and Israel when it was created? Who had a big hand in that? Sikh soldiers. The peacekeeping forces at the gates of Babylon. There's pictures in the 1946, 1947, whenever it was created. You've got the Babylon and all the gates of Jerusalem, and they've all got Sikh soldiers regarding them. So Sikhs were a big part of the creation of Israel. Why? Because they fought for the British. So the British send over their cannon fodder. Do you know what I mean? To look after it. So the peacekeeping force in Israel, which is why a lot of Sikhs support Israel. One, because they're anti-Muslim, a lot of them, and two, because they still have a loyalty to the British Empire, and they were there. So a lot of Sikhs actually were involved in that. But all these things you don't realise, but when you get told it, it makes perfect sense. You just wouldn't...
But it also makes you realise that, like, stop being so tunnel vision with being a victim, stop being so tunnel vision with certain people being oppressors. Like, it's just, there's so much more to it. And this is why I always say, that there's always more than one point of view.
And this is my...
And people only really get sold one point of view. And sometimes the point of view that they're seeing may be more damaging to them.
And it's also filtered and censored.
It is.
And this is my point that we were speaking about earlier, which is I feel for the black community in the UK and the black community in America, because they're trying to stay so closed and saying we're trying to build ourselves up. So everything's black culture, black excellent, black podcasts, and black, everything black, right? But maybe open yourself up, because there's other people. Look, why is it taking an Indian man to tell our black viewers about slavery and the amount of slavery? Why do I know? Because I didn't get taught.
Because you've done that.
I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because I love people. And I love black people. And I love white people. And I love Jewish people and Muslim people. And I love people. So I want to understand people. But it comes from a level of understanding. And it comes from education. I didn't get taught by Indian people. I had to go and learn from white people and black people and other people and professors.
But as I said to you, this is why I'm saying it's good to mix. Because you get views, you get understanding, and you can also teach.
Well, we get that a lot.
Do you get me?
When we get talked about being guests on other people's podcasts and that, they want you. They don't want me. Because a lot of the podcasts are black podcasts, and they're for the culture. And they will more likely want you there than me. Because aesthetically and also relationship-wise.
Yeah, but we've spoken about this, and like, I believe that there's a lot to offer when you can open up and actually listen to someone of a different race, a different position in life.
But also who's had the same struggles as you, just in different ways.
Yeah.
If you are a child of immigrants, this is what we were talking about the other day. If you are a child of immigrants in London, you have more in common. Like a child of immigrants, a black child of immigrants, a Caribbean, Jamaican child of immigrants in London has more in common with an Indian child of immigrants from London than he does with an African American. But but a black person in England, a black Caribbean, like Afro-Caribbean, will more likely gravitate and relate to an African American than they would with a an Indian child of immigrants in London, where really those two have got more in common.
Yeah.
You and me have got much more in common in our upbringing and where we are than you have with some brother from fucking Atlanta, or Houston, or fucking Dallas.
Yeah.
You and me have got more in common.
But then that all then goes into another thing where you feel comfortable with people that look like you.
It's the looks thing, which is but now we all look like each other. We're in the same fucking. You understand?
Yeah.
But then hear this. Then do you feel then if that's the case, why do young black boys do not feel like they relate more to a black man wearing a suit? Why do they not listen to him? Because he looks like them. Is it just the
But he
clothing?
doesn't look like them.
Okay, then why are they more comfortable with a black person in America than an Indian
So
person
then-
who's
so then-
dressed like them?
so
is
then-
it dress or is it skin?
It's both.
So that means I've got to look like you, have the same colour skin in you and dress like you. then
And
you
that's
listen
because
to me.
people are not opening up.
But then what are you
But-
aspiring to?
But that's what I'm saying, because people are not opening up. They're closed.
And there's
like
nothing
you
to
said.
aspire to.
So there's no real acknowledgement and understanding that people may look like you and be completely different, and people may also be completely different looking to
But
you,
dressed like
but
you.
be the same.
Yeah.
That people are not. They don't acknowledge that because they don't want to, because they don't feel like it's safe. They feel uncomfortable doing it. It's uncomfortable. Do you get me?
It's all down to the other. And that's what everything comes down to. And that's what, and this is one thing I wanted to touch on. It's like, let me just dry my nose before I get into that.
We've got to finish this.
How is it going on there?
It's good.
We've got a lot of thing, haven't we? A lot of content. Haven't we? I'll have to go for it. It's not one. It's just one long thing. But I say, this is one thing I wanted to say. Like, it's such an example. Like, you have waste men are waste men, right? But you have men in this country on different ends of the spectrum, different races, blaming the same thing for their problems, but they're the same. Like on one side, you got a load of waste men who happen to be black, talking about, oh, the government's holding us down, and the government's our problem. Do you know what I mean? And the government, their idea is because the government's racist and they hold us down. On the other side, you've got a bunch of waste men who happen to be white that are talking about, oh, the government, they're taking our homes away and giving it to other people, and I'm not doing well because of the government, and the government. There ain't no go-getters in this country of any fucking colour complaining about the fucking government. You're all the same. Those black guys that are sitting in their mum's basement talking about being woke, like, yeah, oh, the man is holding us down. I know guys who talk like that work for the government. They work for the fucking council. I actually know guys that will sit there talking about, yeah, we've been stereotyping the black man and the black man and black. They work for the fucking council. How are you taking your paychecks from the government? And at the same time, you've got those guys who are in fucking godforsaken towns in the north of England rioting and setting fire to fucking hotels, talking about the government and the government are taking our jobs. You're all waste men. Because ain't no go-getters and successful men of any fucking nationality, whether it be black, brown or white, that gives a fuck about what the government is doing.
Yeah.
Whoever's in charge is not going to stop me working 100 hours a week. I'll work 100 hours a week if the Conservative Party's in, if the Labour Party is in,
True.
if a fucking brown guy is the Prime Minister, if a white guy, if a white lady, I'm still on my fucking grind. If the house prices go up, the house prices go down, the fucking gas prices go down, the gas prices go down. If Romanians come over and take fucking jobs, if illegal immigrants come in Syria, I'm still working 100 hours a week. Because they are not going to dictate to me how successful I am going to be and how hard I'm going to work and my
Yeah,
mission.
well, that's a mindset. It's a mindset. Though.
So it's got nothing to do with it, and that's what I'm saying. Those woke black guys talking about the government and holding the black man down, and those fucking divvy white guys who are going around burning fucking mosques and they're actually more similar. They're actually the same. They're the same fucking people. Because ain't go-getters moaning about nothing, bruv. Do you know what I mean? You're right on, Kamal. We're just about to finish and get you on.
Jump in, let's go.
Let's get